Good morning and welcome to Saturday's special of Dr. Lamba's weekly call. If you look at the history, we find a very curious juxtaposition of some countries. Some countries have been enslaved time and again and again and again. And there are some countries which are practically unconquerable. They have never been conquered by anybody. Despite all the odds, they maintain their independence and are deemed unconquerable by all. And the beauty is that these countries are very small countries. They don't have big population, they don't have armed strength, but they have something in them, innate strength of character that makes them unconquerable. Now, what does conquering a country mean? Does it mean defeating it just militarily? Yes, there's one part, but not the only part. Until and unless you can subdue the population into submission, until and unless you can make people believe mentally and psychologically that they are enslaved and that you are the ruling class, you haven't conquered a country. And through the history we see residents of defeated countries, some of them have been resisting their invaders, ultimately leading them to independence in real term. And on the other side, the countries, huge countries, large populations, and they were enslaved not once, again and again and again. India, take up. It has been enslaved hundreds of times, and it accepted the conquerors as their masters. They used to call them, for example, the Indians in the British era, used to call them my Bab. My Bab means parents. The paternal attitude, okay, you have come fine. Mughal Raj, Khiljis, Lodhis, before that Kushks, Huns, Sakyas, invaders innumerable came, conquered politically, and then psychologically. And the other side, the conquest is just not, as I said, invading the borders. They conquer the borders, but they could not subdue the people, and ultimately they had to leave. So at the end of the World War II, the age of colonialism officially ended for most of the conquerors. And what grew from that end was the rebirth of these people, their culture. They just went on to show that they were never really conquered, that their spirit was indomitable, that their spirit was unconquerable. And the reason is that they never stopped fighting in the first place. Even when they had been conquered politically, they were fighting. So it was a war continuing. And ultimately, they were successful. They have a right to exist because they won their independence, not by rebellion, but by fighting. And they overcame great odds and earned the respect of even their neighbors and even their former enemies. So much so that the former enemies now practically go to them and request them for help. So, which are those countries? These, as I said earlier, are very small countries. You'll be shocked. The first country that comes to my mind is Vietnam. Now, Vietnam is in the news because it resisted USA. But that's not the only thing. If you look at the historical background, this is a country which was invaded long back by Kublai Khan of Yuan dynasty of Chinese. And Khan has sent 400 ships and 300,000 soldiers to Vietnam. A huge 300,000 strong army, small country. And Kublai Khan was very successful, descendant of Genghis Khan. What happened? All the 400 ships were sunk by the Vietnamese, and armies was harassed Vietnamese to the extent that they ran away. And for 900 years, Vietnam continued to be independent. Then, in 1858, it was conquered by the French. But they could not subdue it till 1887, 29 years. And even then, it cost them thousands of their lives to bring in the Philippine troops to help. But then what happened? There was an error by the Vietnamese emperor. But the people continued fighting, and ultimately they were successful in defeating. Then at the time of the Second World War, Japanese invaded Vietnam. While they were fighting the French, the Japanese invaded, and Vietnamese resolved that they started killing the Japanese and the French. So they kicked both of them out of the country. Then they invaded Laos and extended the territory of Vietnam. And then the Americans came in. And then, you know the history, the recent history. America was given the beating of its lifetime. And then after Americans went, Chinese tried to influence them, and then the Chinese started fighting Vietnam. There was a lot of warfare, and ultimately Vietnam, North and South, joined hands, and it's an independent country. But the resistance doesn't end here. Politically, they became independent, but the political domination of Chinese was there. So till 1979, when China invaded with this PLA, People's Liberation Army, they fought with the will, and the Chinese went back, ran away. They couldn't face the Vietnamese. This is a courage. The second country which comes to my mind is Finland. Early Finnish history is not much known, except for the few Viking sagas. But the Viking sagas show how they were. They had was the war between Sweden and Russia. And the Finns were allowed themselves to be dominated by Sweden. Then they received their autonomy in 1917. So it became a country. But they didn't give up. They accepted them to rule, but then they kept on fighting. And when, interestingly, if you are not aware, when Russia invaded Finland, the war lasted 105 days. And then what happened? 25,000 troops of Russia were opposed by 300 Finns. That's all. And each Russian was killed. One sniper, only one sniper, Simon Hacker, killed 335 Russians and never lost a moment's sleep. So that was the bravery. Then, when they were withdrawing, because the Russian army was too strong, they destroyed everything of their country, scorched earth. Ultimately, what they did was marvelous. Lakes were frozen, so they mined the frozen lakes. And when the Russian army marked on the frozen land, the lake exploded, drowning and freezing more than 7,000 army personnel of Russia. And Russia would allow this. They could not tolerate it, so they sent the tanks. Finnish people were very sensible. They allowed the tanks to come and even induced them to come, canalizing them the way they wanted, and then started killing them. And 305 million people, That's a population of Finland. Defeated Russia, which is historical defeat. Russia could never tolerate it. Just 3.5 million. And they say we are happy to kill any India. Then comes one country, Israel. Israel has one thing, that it is 1.5 million strong army of civilians, the reserves. It became an independent country, and within the first year, it was invaded by the complete Arab world. They defeated them. In 70 years of history, Israel has earned a perfect record. Till today, they have not been defeated because the will is indomitable. They cannot be defeated. As for the Israeli army goes, the last time invading army was during 48-49 War of Independence. That was the last time the Arabs could penetrate, but then they were defeated. And what surprised the Arabs was that in the Yom Kippur War in 1973, Israelis were able to go and conquer Cairo and Damascus in just a couple of weeks. Imagine the distances, imagine the logistics, imagine the territory of the enemy that you are passing to conquer. And they not only secured the land borders, but they expanded them. They conquered the Golan Heights, Gaza, occupied territories, and everything. But then one thing more, not only they protect their own country, but they think that Jews anywhere in the world living are their responsibility. And they do not hesitate in violating the sovereignty of any other country to protect it. Look at what happened in Uganda, Sudan, Argentina, Germany, Norway, France, Italy, Tunisia, and UAE. Wherever a group of Jewish people was taken hostage or under threat somewhere, the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, would come in and get them. Their Mossad is another story. Any country even thinking about invading Israel is probably foolish because they know it. Before they can formulate the plans, Mossad would jump in and destroy the plans. Mossad agents are so capable that they can penetrate the entire planet. And what happened in Iraq when one man of Mossad destroyed a complete superstructure of the nuclear power station. In the 6 Days War, shall I tell you one thing? One agent, Ali Cohen, was so close to the Syrian defense minister. And the Syrian defense minister used to think, wow, he is my great advisor, but he was a Mossad agent. And he made the Syrian defense minister plant trees in the Golan Heights. What was the purpose of planting trees? That when Israeli defense forces came, they could identify the trees and direct the artillery fire over there. That was the capability. The fourth country, which is unconquerable, is Japan, the world's oldest civilization. And they have kept their culture and history relatively insulated for centuries. And for centuries they were never invaded. But countries should probably believe that if they were once invaded with Mongols, they could conquer some islands, but not all. And the Japanese exhausted Mongols in the war, and then they said, okay, we are leaving. When Mongols invaded with a fleet of 4,400 ships, imagine the fleet, and some 140,000 Mongol, Korean, and Chinese troops. The Japanese samurai defending Hakata Bay were just waiting. And what they did? They boarded the Chinese ships, slaughtered all the mariners. And Mongols and the Chinese all had to run back. You know, Japanese have a code called Bushiko Code. And Japan's main enemies are those people who try to conquer them. That's why small Japan could defeat Russia badly in 1905. And then Pearl Harbor was a stupidity of Japanese, but they sent a message and USA got the message. And instead of fighting a war, they dropped a nuclear bomb. They knew that they could not win a war against Japan directly, so basically it was a cowardly act. So Japan was never a conquered country, but an independent country. And even after the war, when they were defeated, they maintained their dignity and not those and asked them for help. And the last country is the Philippines. 7,000 islands form this country, and has resisted invaders since 1521. Filipinos killed Ferdinand Magellan, and for 300 years, the Spanish tried to rule them, but that rule was practically no rule. They could rule some cities, but every day they were being slaughtered. And ultimately, Philippines rose, threw them out, shadow government was formed, and the Spanish were gone. Then came the Americans, MacArthur and others. Even they could not be defeated, and they had to go. And when American occupation was strong, the Filipinos were so angry that they adopted a new setup called with a larger caliber. And American troops were slaughtered like anything. So they had to compromise with them. Till 1913, the fight was going on. And ultimately, they showed that US soldiers that they can hack off the heads. Philippines might be little aged, I agree. It might be a very small country. But the hot climate, the dense jungles covering 7,000 plus islands, they help Filipinos maintain their integrity and independence. Can you believe these 5 small countries maintaining their independence despite all odds? They fight for their temples and they fight for their gods. They fight for the country dedicatedly. And they're a lesson to the others. Don't conquer others. And these countries have another interesting thing. Except for Japan, they don't conquer others. Only Japan had imperialistic tendencies. Otherwise, they are content with their own growth. And that's a lesson, that we maintain our independence without being expansionist. And that's the way to coexist. Think about it. Small countries can bring great warriors, conquerors to the hills. Vietnam, USA, Vietnam, Genghis Khan, follower, Kublai Khan, Philippines, Japan, all these countries have been victorious, where really they are unconquerable. And that is the beauty of it. Thank you.